Hey guys, so I haven't really been pushing out a lot of videos lately because I've been moving from Vancouver over to Edmonton. It's been quite the tackle with everything that's been going on, especially during Christmas and New Year's. But we're finally here, and I really want to document the whole entire process of owning a Tesla, going from over there to over here, and just living here for about now a month, owning a Tesla, and I'd have to say it is not the best experience. Now, of course, a lot of it has to do with my planning, but there is another factor to it, and it is a very crucial part of it, and that has to do with the weather and the fact that the car was designed down in California and not much thought given into how the temperature and how the humidity and the rest of weather-related circumstances that might come when you own a Tesla up north here. Alright guys, so I've been pretty spoiled by living in Vancouver. Now, a lot of the world really thinks that Canada is a very cold place, and that is completely true. For the most part of it, Canada is very, very cold. Now, if you guys don't already know or you guys haven't already visited Vancouver, it's a very nice place and it's very comparable to, let's say, mid to Northern California in terms of just the overall view and living conditions and weather. You barely get any snow and the temperature is always above maybe 10 degrees Celsius. You guys can do the conversion there in Fahrenheit, but it is a pretty decent place to live in terms of just weather and temperature. And this is the reason why you'll see a Tesla literally every single block. It is like the hub for Teslas, and this is where it's very comparable to down in the States, especially in California. But now moving over to Edmonton, let's talk about just the drive from here to Edmonton. It is a killer process because of the range alone, and this is why I really recommend you guys get an all-wheel drive dual motor if you're thinking of doing any long road trips. Regardless of how many superchargers out there, it will always come in handy to have the extra range, because if you guys look at the map right here, you will see that even on the Tesla trip planner, it shows you that it will be taking a different route just to get to Edmonton from Vancouver, whereas Google Maps shows you a completely different route. Now, comparing both of them, you're adding an additional 2 hours, but more realistically, you're adding maybe 4 to 6 extra hours because you're driving and charging. But this is something you'll have to deal with if you are taking a Tesla up to Edmonton from Vancouver. So yeah, definitely that's a downside, and this could be fixed in the future because there might be additional superchargers along the way. Coming from Kamloops all the way up to Jasper, there is no superchargers for roughly about 600 to 700 kilometers. And if you just put that into perspective, the Tesla long range Model 3 only does roughly 500 kilometers. So there is no chance that it will make it up to Jasper. Alright, and here's the next thing. Tesla is workable in Vancouver because of the temperature, like I've mentioned, and there is tons of superchargers all around. There's tons of different charger from different companies all around, but there is none in Edmonton. Now, when I say none, there's a couple that comes from the government and a couple here and there, but even Tesla superchargers, there's literally one in the whole entire city, and that's just not enough. There is no way that anybody's gonna wanna buy a Tesla when there is not accessible superchargers nearby, and that's the one biggest downside to living in Edmonton and owning your Tesla. Alright, so let's go back to why I moved up here. So I thought that Vancouver is extremely expensive. You guys already know, and if you don't, you can search it up. But prices are very comparable to Cali. Like I mentioned, an old rundown home is at least roughly $1.5 million and above. And if you guys want a decent place to live, you're looking at $2 to $3 million just to get yourself into something that has a decent garage and a nice backyard. Now up here in Edmonton, you're looking at 1/5 the price, so this is the reason why I moved up here. But because of the conditions, which I didn't expect at all, I thought it was going to be cold, but it wasn't going to be this cold. There is a chance that I will be moving back to Vancouver, unfortunately, just because the quality of life here is not what I was expecting. But anyways, putting that aside, let's go back to my Tesla here. So I have a Model Y, and this is a dual motor, and it seems like it does not work very well up in the very frigid cold up here. Now, if you guys are doubting what I'm saying, and I'm sure there's a lot of doubters out there because there's a few people living in Edmonton that I do see have Teslas. I don't know how they do it, but right now it's negative 34 degrees Celsius, and the car just can't handle it. I can see how much it struggles. I can see how I'm hurting the paint job on my car. I can see the axles having problem in the morning because it's so cold. I can see the very one supercharger struggling to put juice into my car, and just the cord itself froze to the point where you have to snap it before you can plug it in. There's so many downsides, but the biggest one that I have really, and I really want to just make it clear to you guys is that if you're living in any temperature less than negative 20 degrees Celsius, the car does not create enough heat for you with your normal day-to-day drive. You're gonna have to drive at least more than 30 minutes before it pumps out any proper heat, and this is where my foot is always completely frozen sitting in my Tesla, at least for the first 30 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if this has to do with the heat pump and maybe it reached its limitations, because there's a certain point where it's too cold for the heat pump to actually work properly, and maybe negative 40 is at that point. Now, on a daily average here, from what I see during the winter months, is negative 30 to negative 40 degrees Celsius. And in comparison to Vancouver, it's plus 10 degrees. Maybe it dips down to negative 1 degrees at most at the worst time of the year. So very big difference there. And this is where I feel very bad for those Tesla drivers out there, even myself included, because you're driving a very expensive car that you took forever to purchase. And here you are just exposing it to the conditions. The car is always dirty. The car always has dirt all over it, and it just struggles in every single way. I don't know if this applies to the rest of Canadians out there, because I think the rest of Canada has to deal with the cold, even in Toronto. So maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe I'm asking for too much living in Vancouver. But just to be honest, Tesla does not work well in my new city here at negative 40 degrees Celsius. Oh yeah, guys, so just to give you perspective here, I do have a Honda Civic that I drive from time to time just to take my dog around to the park. And that car struggles sitting at idle. When you're idling, the engine temperature actually goes down, and if you sit without revving your engine, it goes down into the cold section at negative 40 degrees Celsius. And there is no way around it. Your car starts to get colder and colder as you sit there. So yeah, pretty crazy. I am likely gonna be returning to Vancouver in the near future, just because I really can't just sacrifice my quality of life because I want a cheaper place. It is pretty nice to just pay off a home and everything, but it is definitely not nice to have to sacrifice so many different parts of my life just for a home. So if I had to redo my decision, or for you guys out there that are considering buying a Tesla if you live in a super cold climate, I'd say it is not a good decision, at least not now. There is no way to regulate the heat that is produced from your EV. And I'm not even speaking about how much range you're losing yet. And so far, I'm looking at least 40% range lost when you start up your car in the morning at that temperature. So it's pretty insane. And as you drive it and you turn on the heat, it's gonna lose much, much more. So keep that in mind if you guys really want your EV. Overall, my experience has been pretty negative driving an EV in Edmonton, and this is the reason why we're barely seeing any up here. I'm probably seeing one Tesla every 50,000 cars that I come across, whereas in Vancouver, I'd see one Tesla every 10 cars that I come across, or even more. So that gives you guys a perspective of what it's like in a warmer climate versus what it's like and the adoption rate in a colder climate. So yeah, there you guys have it. In terms of FSD beta, I know that a lot of people are talking about that, wondering what it's like when you never ever see the lines, the road lines here. I'm gonna do a separate video on that if you guys are interested. I'll record the entire drive, let you guys see what it's like, but it does not perform well at all. There's videos out there that shows you guys that there is chances of it working, but you're not gonna feel comfortable whatsoever. So anyways, that's my experience so far, at least the first month of being here with a Tesla. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you guys want more, and you guys want to know something else while I'm up here, let me know in the comments below. I'll definitely answer that for you guys. But as of right now, this is my experience, and this should be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is John once again. Peace out.